Good evening. My presentation this evening will be on the Republic of Tunisia. As part of a class that I'm taking within the university on Middle East culture, I have done some research on the country of Tunisia, and I would like to share some of the information that I learned with you tonight. So we'll start off and we'll just cover some basic stats and information about the Republic of Tunisia. It is a small country, approximately 10.5 billion in population, based off the 2007 census, and is just short of 64,000 square miles, roughly the size of the state of Missouri. The capital is Tunis, located in the northern part of the country. You'll notice that most of the populated areas are along the coast and not really inland. Most of the tenable land that is farmable and has agriculture is along the coast, and most of the inner part of the country is semi-arid or desert. The climate there is, they have hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. One thing to better understand a country is to look at its economy or the economic factors that help shape that country. And so here's some basic information as far as its economy. The natural resources that it has include natural gas, crude oil. They do phosphate, salt mining, and iron ore, as well as their agriculture, which is predominantly olives, olive oil, citrus fruit, sugar beets, other vegetables, and dates. And they take these and then they turn them into their industry or their exports, which are petroleum, mining, exports, some food processing, textiles, and then they also have service industries, predominantly tourism, which is their main one, and we'll discuss that a little bit later on. And they have commerce, transport, and communications, which are fairly standard for developed countries. Their workforce in 2010, like I said, the unemployment rate was 18.5%. This is found predominantly between the ages of 25 and 45, and mostly also within their college educated or their college graduates. They do predominantly all their trading, imports, and exports with European Union countries, although they do also have some exports and imports with Asia and Africa and a little bit into the Americas. So they're pretty much a regional trading partner, predominantly with Europe and Africa. Another key factor to understand a country is to look at its sociological and educational makeup. What we have, we'll go back a slide. Their literacy rate, age 15 and over, is about 74%, 83% male, 65% female. They have a very high percentage of college students. Over 50% of their college students are women, and 66% of doctors and lawyers are also women. With the current revolution that occurred about 18 months ago, and they're having a change in government, it's currently determining its governmental and constitutional makeup. The initial government was started in June of 1959 with a constitution, and they've only had two leaders since up to the time of the revolution. President Habib Bourguiba, who was president from 1957 to 1987, and then President Zine El Abidine Ben Ali, who was president up until February of 2011 when they had the revolution. They were both autocratic dictators. Even though the country had a constitution, they were very heavy-handed, basically dictators that ran the country. Since the revolution, they now have a temporary government in place, and they are trying to form their own government. President Marzouki and Prime Minister Jabali have been appointed by their Constituent Assembly, which has been elected by open elections, the first time in the country's history they've had open elections. And they've also appointed a council of ministers. They're currently determining their constitutional status, and once their constitution is ratified, then they will start to develop their country and have open elections again, and then they will actually elect a president. I mentioned earlier on the tourism. Tourism was one of the prime economic basis for the country, and with the advent of the revolution and the high unemployment rate, their tourism has taken somewhat of a hit, and that they've lost a little bit of their European clout, but they're gaining that back as they work on their democratic setup. Like I said before, Tunisia is a relatively small country on the Mediterranean coast. It is a big player in the current Arab Spring, as we've discussed a little bit about their revolution and the fact that they are implementing a democratic government with open elections. As the new government unfolds in the coming months and years, it will be interesting to see how these changes affect not only the country, but the northern African area and the southern Mediterranean, all the way over into the Arabian Gulf and the rest of the Middle East. I hope you've enjoyed my presentation this evening. Thank you very much.